Hi, I'm Shira Weiss, the Library Media Specialist at Central High School, and this is Greg Noble, one of our English teachers. And we're getting to know our teachers and some of the books that have inspired them throughout the years. So I have Mr. Noble here, and he's going to tell us a little bit about a book that's inspired him and what it means to him.
Okay. The book that I chose is In Harm's Way. It's by a gentleman named Doug Stanton, who is he's actually a journalist, but he wrote this book after researching about the sinking of the USS Indianapolis in 1945. The USS Indianapolis had delivered the parts for the atomic bomb to the island of Tinian, and on their way back, their mission was top secret. On their way back, they were torpedoed by a Japanese sub, and it was so secret that there was a lot of problems with the Navy, and they left the men in the water for 4 days. 900 men went into the water. When they found them, less than 300 of them were still alive. And it talks about shark attacks, and it talks about all the things that these men went through for 4 days. And it kind of gives the story of the Navy trying to track them down. And then it also gives individual stories of the sailors themselves. And it also gives the story of what happened to the men in the water, the shark attacks, the photophobia, drownings, hallucinations, all the things that were going on. And it's really a story that really, I think, helps us to see why we should, honor the men of that generation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say your reading personality is?
Depends on when you ask me. I go through phases. I'll read fiction for a little while, and then I'll get tired of fiction, and I'll start picking up nonfiction, and I'll pick out different times. So I might read about the Revolutionary War period for a while, and then I'll read about World War II, and then I'll go read about the Roman Republic, and then next thing you know, I'm wanting to read fiction, and then I'll read some fiction for a while. I get tired of that, and I'll go to I read a lot of kind of Christian life type books. So things written by pastors and written by kind of religious thinkers, and then I'll go back and I'll read classic things for a while, and then I'll go read really modern things for a while, and every now and then a student will inspire me to pick up a teen book, and I'll read one of those.
Right.
And I'm just all over the place. So right now I'm reading fiction, but that probably won't last for another month or two, and I'll be into something else.
Cool. What is one book that you would say you like to go back to, that you like to reread?
There's actually several. I'm actually rereading a book right now called Columbine, about the Columbine school shooting, and it's horrific and it's terrible. But it's another book kind of like this one. It was written by a journalist who investigated and kind of broke through the myths and told the real story of what happened to Columbine. It's just sort of fascinating. And so I'm actually reading that book right now for the second time, and then also To Kill a Mockingbird. You and I have talked about To Kill a Mockingbird before, and probably if I were to say my favorite book of fiction, it's To Kill a Mockingbird. So that's probably the other one that I go back to all the time.
We share that.
Yes.
What is a book that you never finished? I think student readers get in their mind, you start a book, you have to finish it. And I know there are books that I couldn't finish it. Does one stand out in your mind? Something that you couldn't, maybe somebody recommended it, or it's a classic or something, and you're like, I can't.
Two classics. I'm sort of embarrassed to say I didn't finish it, but I really wanted to read A Picture of Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
By Oscar Wilde, and I got about halfway through it, and I just couldn't do it anymore. It's very wordy. It's an old style. It's very well written, but I guess I was just sort of distracted at the time, and I just couldn't make myself concentrate on it. So I finally just put it down. It's on my bookshelf at home, and I've never picked it back up again.
I think that's one that I've never read either.
Oh, there you go. And then A Tale of Two Cities is one I did too, and I'm kind of embarrassed about that one. I like Dickens, but I got maybe a third of the way through that one. And you kind of have to be in the mood for certain books, and I tell students that all the time. Sometimes you're just not in the mood for a book, and it's okay to put a book back and get another one. And you don't have to force feed a book. That's not going to help you love reading anyway. So find something you like and read it.
Who instilled a love of reading to you?
You know what? Probably my parents first. I think most readers will tell you it was their parents. My parents read to me a lot. My parents both read, and so when you're seeing people read all the time, and you're having people read to you when you're young, and that's emphasized at home, I think that's a big part of it. The other part is I had a college professor who I knew when I had her class, I got exposed to literature in a way I'd never had been exposed to it before. And she made me like Canterbury Tales. And Canterbury Tales I found really boring. I'd read it before. I found it really boring and old. and she made it new and alive. And I thought that's what a good teacher can do. And so she really helped me develop a love for that.
What do you think about everybody's plugged in these days? We're reading on Chromebooks, we're reading on our phones, we're reading on tablets. It just feels like everyone's so busy. And, you know, what advice do you give to kids to try to keep that reading going? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm asking.
You just mean they're just distracted with so many things?
Yeah, I think we're so distracted now. And you know, I'm afraid, man, are kids checking out as many books? Are they getting everything on their phone? Are they so distracted they can't concentrate on reading? What do you think? What do you think is the future for reading a book that you can hold in your hand?
I was actually just talking about this. We were in the library earlier this week, and I had a student and I were having a discussion, and I said, we were talking about ebooks, and I said, I don't like ebooks myself. Not because they're really convenient, they're cheaper, they're easy to get to, and I've read them before, and I will read them when I need to. But I like the feel of having a book in my hand, and I like the smell of books, and I like the feel of books. And
book sniffer right here.
Yes, and absolutely. And I actually told him, I said, I'm going to be so sad if 20 years from now I can't find a good bookstore. I love walking in a bookstore. I love the smell of it. I love walking through the stacks. I love picking out a book and just reading some of it. And I know you can do things like that online. You can sample a book. It's just not the same for me.
It's not for me either.
But the good thing about it is convenient. And for like in an area like ours, it's kind of sad that we don't have a good bookstore here, but we don't.
We don't.
So we do have a good Christian bookstore in Farmington, but we don't have like a general bookstore for people to go to. So ebooks and things like that work really well for them. But number one, someone please build a bookstore. Or
if
start
I
a
win the
bookstore.
lottery, I'm going to do a bookstore in a coffee shop.
Yeah, absolutely. And number two,
that's my goal.
I just hope they just don't disappear. I'm kind of afraid that they're going to disappear someday. And I don't know that they will. I think there's a big market for them still, but it would be. So I guess there's something about having a book. There's just something about it.
And last question, I don't want to go over our minutes, but if you had to choose one book for your students here to read, I know I'm really putting you on the spot today. I didn't give him these questions before. What would you recommend?
Well, I think there's different things you consider. You consider interest level and what students are interested in, and what might appeal to them, to their age. But if I were just going to pick out a book, and I were going to say, read this book, another one of my favorite books. Well, gosh, this is so hard. This is a difficult question because and now other books are popping into my head. One book that I really love is another nonfiction book. It's called "And Still We Rise," and it's about a group of gifted African American inner city students in LA. And it's written by another journalist. I had this journalist thing for a while now, but this journalist wrote that he basically stayed in that classroom and stayed with those students for a year and wrote about their lives, all the difficult things that they faced, and how in spite of it, some of them failed, some of them had to drop out, some of them there were gang-related incidents and drug incidents, but it follows them and talks about how these students succeeded despite all of the things thrown at them. And I think I would like them to read that book because it would make them appreciate opportunities that they have, and it would also make them appreciate their education a lot more. The students in that book they just grab a hold of you, they don't let go of you, and it's an amazing book, and it's one that a student probably would never pick up on their own. So if I were going to say one, that might be it. But
give us the title again.
It's called "And Still We Rise." Okay. Of course, I could also pick out about 500 other books, so that's not the only one, but that's one that I just brought up.
Well, I appreciate your time today. Sure. And I hope to bring everyone more of these videos so you can get to know our teachers here at the high school and expect some interviews with some of our student readers as well. And it's our goal, of course, that all of you guys become lifelong readers. So happy reading. See you later.